The story begins in a small American neighborhood where two sisters grew up in the same home, but in completely different worlds. Maya, the older one, had deep brown skin and calm, thoughtful eyes. She was the kind of girl who didn't speak much, because she didn't need to. Her presence alone brought peace. People trusted her instantly. Teachers loved her discipline. Neighbors always said, "God, that girl has wisdom beyond her age." And then there was Alina. Fair-skinned, delicate, and beautiful in a soft, fragile way. She laughed easily, loved loudly, and dreamed of a big, magical life. Where Maya was steady like the earth, Alina was free like the wind. But beauty came with a price. People compared them constantly. At family gatherings, relatives whispered things they thought the girls couldn't hear. Alina is so pretty, she'll get many proposals. Maya is dark, but she's responsible. Someone stable will marry her. Maya heard every word, but she never reacted. She had learned to live with silence. Alina heard them too, but she pretended not to. She didn't want to see her sister hurt. Despite the comparisons, the sisters were close. They shared a bedroom, shared secrets, shared dreams. On nights when Alina cried because a boy didn't like her back, Maya held her and said, "You don't need anyone to choose you. You choose yourself." And on days when Maya felt the world saw only her skin and not her heart, Alina would sit beside her and whisper, "You're stronger than all of them." Two sisters. One praised for her beauty. One respected for her strength. Walking the same road, but carrying different weights. Neither of them knew it yet. But the world had written their fates in ways that would test their love, their loyalty, and their bond more than anything else ever had. The year passed quickly, and soon the sisters found themselves standing at the edge of a new life. Two proposals came, one for Maya, one for Alina, arriving almost like they were planned by fate itself. The family decided something rare, something dramatic. Both weddings would be held in the same month, almost side by side. The house exploded with excitement. Lights went up, relatives poured in, and the aroma of food filled every corner. Neighbors stopped by just to catch a glimpse of the two brides-to-be. Maya's room was calm, decorated with soft flowers and gold fabric. She sat quietly as her mother arranged her jewelry, her expression steady, her heart peaceful. Her groom, Damer, was known for being mature, successful, and deeply respectful. The kind of man every parent wished for their daughter. People said Maya was lucky, but in truth, Damer was luckier. Alina's room, on the other hand, buzzed with energy. Her friends danced around her, fixing her veil, adjusting her makeup, taking pictures every second. Her groom was a simple man, poor, but charming in the beginning. He had promised her the world, even though he didn't own much of it. On the wedding day, the hall shined with warm lights. Two stages were decorated, one in rich maroon and gold for Maya, and the other in soft white and silver for Alina. Guests kept turning their heads from one bride to the other. Maya looks so regal today. Alina is glowing like a princess. For a moment, it felt like a movie. Two sisters stepping into a new life, both smiling, both hopeful, both believing that happiness was waiting for them on the other side of the vows. During the ceremonies, Maya looked at Damer and saw comfort. Alina looked at her groom and saw dreams. But fate had different plans. While the music played and families celebrated, no one realized that one of these marriages was built on love, and the other was built on illusions that would soon shatter. Two weddings, two beginnings, two destinies splitting in opposite directions, and neither sister had the slightest idea. After the wedding celebration settled, Maya stepped into her new home. A warm, spacious place filled with soft colors and gentle lighting. It felt peaceful, just like her. Damer, her husband, welcomed her with a calm smile. Not the forced smile many men give on their wedding night, but a genuine, respectful one. The kind that said, "I'm here, and I will always be kind to you." Damer was a man of simple habits, but strong principles. He woke up early, prayed, exercised, and handled his business with discipline. Everyone in his town respected him, not because he was wealthy, but because he treated people fairly. From the very first day, he treated Maya like an equal. He didn't rush her, didn't pressure her, didn't pull her into a role too quickly. Instead, he told her, "Take your time. This house is yours. But more importantly, you're safe here." Those words stayed with her. Maya, who had spent years hearing comments about her skin tone, suddenly felt seen and valued. In the mornings, Damer made her coffee before leaving for work. Not because she needed it, but because he wanted her to feel cared for. He would leave little notes on the kitchen counter. "Have a good day, Maya. Don't forget to smile. Dinner together tonight?" Small gestures. But they built big emotions. When he came home in the evenings, he would ask about her day. Listen quietly, never interrupting. Something even her own family rarely did. Slowly, Maya opened up. She laughed more. She spoke more. Her confidence returned, and the heaviness she carried for years began to fade. She never had to fight for attention. She never had to wonder if she mattered. With Damer, she knew she was loved, without being compared, judged, or reduced. For the first time in her life, her heart felt peaceful. What Maya didn't know was that this peace, this quiet, beautiful marriage, was going to become the very thing her sister Alina secretly longed for, and that longing would soon turn into. While Maya's new life was gently unfolding with stability and kindness, Alina's marriage began cracking from the very first week. Her husband, Ryan, was everything he pretended to be. Sweet words, big promises, charming smile. But only before the wedding. Once the celebrations ended, his real personality surfaced. Slowly at first, then all at once. Alina moved into a small apartment that smelled of damp wood and old carpets. The ceiling leaked when it rained. The heater worked only half the time. And the neighbors argued loudly every night. "This is temporary," Ryan had said. "I'll find a better job soon. We'll move to a better place." But days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And nothing changed. Ryan slept late, woke up irritated, and spent most of his time scrolling through his phone. Every time Alina asked about work, he snapped. "Stop pressuring me. You think life is easy." Instead of finding a job, he found excuses. Instead of building a home, he built walls between them. Alina tried everything, cooking his favorite meals, encouraging him, even comforting him when he clearly didn't deserve it. But Ryan's insecurity turned into anger. He couldn't handle the fact that his wife came from a more stable family, that she was admired, that she looked happy. He felt small next to her. And instead of improving himself, he tried to pull her down. Nights became silent battles. Mornings became cold routines. Sometimes Alina cried quietly when he wasn't looking. She had dreamed of a romantic, beautiful marriage, but she felt like she had walked into a life that wasn't hers. She noticed the difference the most during family visits. Whenever she saw Maya and Damer together, laughing gently, speaking respectfully, Alina felt something twist inside her. Why did her sister get love, while she got only promises that never came true? Ryan stopped pretending altogether. He started staying out late, returning home without explanations. He avoided her questions, avoided eye contact. And eventually, he avoided being a husband. One morning, Alina woke up and found the closet empty. His wallet gone. His shoes missing. Her husband had left without a goodbye, leaving behind only a marriage certificate and a heart that didn't know how to beat anymore. The morning that changed Alina's life forever began quietly, too quietly. She woke up expecting to hear the familiar sounds. Ryan grumbling in the kitchen, the sink running, the old apartment pipes groaning like they always did. But there was nothing, just silence. At first, she thought he woke up early. Maybe he went for a walk, maybe to look for a job, maybe to clear his head. But then she noticed the closet door slightly open. A strange chill crept up her spine. She stood up slowly, walked over, and pulled the door wide. Her breath caught in her throat. Every single one of his clothes was gone. The top shelf was empty. His favorite jacket missing. His cheap watch missing. Even the torn sneakers he never threw away gone. Her hands began shaking. She checked the bathroom, his razor, toothbrush, deodorant, all gone. She checked the living room, the drawer where he kept his wallet was empty. She checked the kitchen, the mug he always used was missing from the sink. It was like he never lived there at all. Alina felt the floor tilt under her feet. No, he wouldn't just leave, not like this. She called his phone. Switched off. She called again. Still off. Her heartbeat thumped loudly in her ears as she tried his social media. He had blocked her. Everywhere. A heavy, suffocating silence filled the apartment. The walls felt tighter. The air felt colder. Her entire world felt abandoned. Alina sank to the ground, her back against the empty closet. She hugged her knees, shaking, whispering to herself. What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? Why did he leave me like I was nothing? There was no note. No explanation. No apology. Just a woman sitting alone in a cheap apartment, next to the space where her husband used to keep his things. And now only emptiness remained. Hours passed, but Alina didn't move. Her tears soaked into the carpet as the sun shifted across the room. The world outside continued like nothing had happened. But inside that apartment, a part of her spirit died. She had lost not only her husband. She had lost her dignity, her hope, her future. And soon, she would lose something even more precious. Her trust in her own sister. After Ryan disappeared, Alina didn't just break. She collapsed from the inside out. Her world shrank to that tiny apartment. A place filled with ghosts of arguments, broken promises, and memories she never asked for. Days blurred into nights. Nights into more nights. She stopped eating, stopped talking, stopped responding to calls from her parents. Her once bright, glowing face turned pale. Her eyes lost their shine. She would sit on the floor for hours, staring at the door, as if hoping he might walk back in and say, "It was all a mistake. I'm here." But no one came. Not even a knock. The loneliness was so loud that sometimes she covered her ears, thinking she could silence her own thoughts. The neighbors whispered. She must have done something. He left because she was too demanding. She always looked too proud. See what happens? They didn't know a thing. But the world talks anyway. Especially when a woman is left alone. Her finances ran out. Bills started piling up. The landlord knocked on her door 3 times a week, each time with less patience. Alina felt like she was drowning in slow motion. And somehow, the world kept asking her to swim. Alina felt like she was drowning in slow motion. And somehow, the world kept asking her to swim. One night, she tried to sleep on the cold floor. Because the bed felt too big, too empty. She pressed a pillow to her chest, just to feel something warm against her heart. She whispered, "Why me? Why did God choose me for this pain? What did I do so wrong?" There was no answer. Only the hum of the old refrigerator, and the faint sound of a couple fighting upstairs. Her hands trembled when she finally called her sister Maya. She didn't say anything at first, just cried into the phone. Deep, shaking cries. Of someone whose life has fallen apart faster than she could understand. Maya didn't ask questions. She didn't wait. She simply said, "Come home. Pack your bag. You're coming to me." And just like that, Alina realized she had nowhere else to go. No one else to turn to. She was broken, homeless, abandoned, walking not just toward her sister's house, but toward a storm she wasn't ready for. A storm that would change all 3 of their lives forever. Alina arrived at Maya's doorstep just after sunset. A small suitcase in her hand, her posture bent, her eyes red and swollen from days of crying. The moment Maya opened the door, she didn't see her sister. She saw a broken version of the girl she once knew. Alina didn't speak. She didn't have the strength. She simply stepped forward and collapsed into Maya's arms, sobbing so deeply that her entire body shook. Maya held her tightly, whispering, "It's okay, you're safe now. You're home." Her own eyes filled with tears. But she stayed strong because someone had to. Inside the house, Damer walked in from the living room. He paused when he saw Alina crying in Maya's arms. Concern filled his face. "What happened?" he asked gently. Maya shook her head. She needs rest. We'll talk later. Damer nodded, not pressing, not questioning. He simply stepped forward and helped carry Alina's suitcase to the guest room. The guest room was tidy, warm, and smelled faintly of lavender. Maya sat beside her sister on the edge of the bed and brushed her hair away from her face. Just sleep, Maya whispered. We'll handle everything tomorrow. Alina grabbed her sister's hand, tight, desperate, afraid of letting go, as if Maya were the last piece of solid ground remaining in her shattered life. I have nothing left, Alina cried softly. No home, no husband, no future. Maya looked into her eyes and said with quiet certainty, You have me, and that's enough. Alina broke again. Her tears soaked the bedsheet as she repeated, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Maya didn't understand what she was apologizing for. Not yet. She thought it was guilt, shame, heartbreak. But the real apology, the real sin, was still hiding inside Alina's heart. Meanwhile, from the hallway, Damer watched quietly, not judging, not suspicious, only feeling sympathy for his sister-in-law's pain. He whispered to Maya, I'll make dinner. You stay with her. That night, Alina fell asleep holding Maya's hand tightly, like a child afraid of being abandoned again. Maya whispered one last time, You're safe here. I promise. But she didn't know that the woman sleeping next to her would soon destroy the very home that saved her. The next morning, the house was quiet, the kind of silence that carried both relief and tension. Alina woke up in the guest room, still exhausted from the previous days of heartbreak. She felt disoriented, afraid to move, afraid that the world outside would demand her brokenness again. When she stepped into the kitchen, she found Damer already there, making breakfast. Eggs on the stove, toast in the toaster, the smell of coffee brewing gently in the air. He turned to her and smiled softly. Good morning. You must be hungry. Alina froze. No one had ever treated her like this. Not her husband, not her parents, not even strangers. It wasn't just the food, it was the way he saw her. Not as a burden, not as a weak, abandoned woman, but as someone worthy of care and attention. Damer placed the plate in front of her and said, Eat. You need your strength. Alina didn't know how to respond. She wanted to apologize. She wanted to explain her failure as a wife. She wanted to confess her fear of being unwanted. But the words got caught in her throat. Damer didn't push her to talk. Instead, he sat across the table, sipping his coffee, allowing her the space she didn't even realize she needed. Throughout the day, he helped her with small tasks, showed her where things were in the kitchen, offered to fix her torn shoes, even brought a blanket when he noticed her shivering in the living room. Alina felt her walls crumbling, not because she trusted him yet, but because no one had ever made her feel safe like this before. Every little act, every soft word, every thoughtful gesture was like a small spark lighting up the dark corners of her broken heart. And as she looked at him, she caught herself thinking something she shouldn't. What would it feel like to have someone like him for myself? She immediately pushed the thought away. But the seed of desire had been planted. And seeds, once planted, grow faster than anyone expects. By the end of the day, Damer had done nothing wrong. But Alina felt something stir inside her. A mix of admiration, envy, and an emotion she was not ready to name. Little did she know, this simple kindness would be the beginning of a storm that could destroy her sister's happiness. Days passed in Maya's home, and Alina slowly adjusted to the warmth and security that she hadn't felt in months. Damer continued his quiet acts of kindness, making breakfast, helping with small chores, asking about her comfort, and always with the same gentle respect he showed Maya. Alina couldn't help but notice it. Every time Damer smiled at Maya, or held her hand, or listened to her story, Alina felt a strange tug inside her, something she had never felt before. It started as admiration. She thought, he's a good man. Maya is lucky. But admiration twisted into comparison. Why didn't I get someone like him? Why me? The feelings grew louder with every passing day. Alina caught herself watching Damer a little too closely. noticing the way his eyes crinkled when he laughed, or how careful he was not to hurt Maya's feelings. One evening, as she washed dishes in the guest kitchen, she overheard Maya and Damer laughing in the living room. A warmth of love radiated from them that she hadn't felt in years. Alina's heart twisted. A strange envy settled in, quiet at first, almost imperceptible. But it was there. A whisper in her mind. I deserve that too. I deserve love. Why does Maya get it and I don't? That whisper became a thought. A thought became a fantasy. A fantasy became a secret longing. And slowly, almost without her noticing, Alina began imagining herself in Maya's place, with Damer's attention, his respect, his love. At night, she stayed awake thinking, what if he were mine instead? What if I had what Maya has? She hated herself for it. She hated that the seed of envy had taken root. But the seed didn't care about her morality. It only grew, feeding silently on her heartbreak, her loneliness, and her desire for what she could not have. Little did she know, that tiny seed, planted by grief and nurtured by longing, would soon grow into a storm that could tear the sisters apart. It was a quiet evening, and the house was bathed in the soft glow of lamps. Alina sat in the living room, her hands folded tightly in her lap, trying to keep her thoughts from wandering too far. But they always returned to Damer, the way he smiled at Maya, the way he spoke with gentle patience, the way he made life look effortless. A small, careless mistake changed everything. Maya had asked Alina to help with some paperwork. Damer walked in, noticing her stress, and offered quietly, do you need a hand with that? Alina's heart raced. He was speaking to her, noticing her, helping her. It felt thrilling. She looked up at him, her eyes lingering too long. Her voice trembled slightly as she responded, thank you. I appreciate it. It was innocent, really. A simple act of gratitude. But in that moment, the envy and longing she had been hiding whispered louder. What if he cared for me like this? What if I were the one he was looking at? Her smile lingered a fraction too long. Her gaze followed him a moment too much. She caught herself imagining his hand brushing against hers, his attention focused solely on her, instead of Maya. Damer noticed it, a subtle shift in her demeanor. He paused, uncomfortable, his eyes narrowing slightly. He said nothing, stepped back, and returned to his own task. Alina felt a pang of guilt immediately. She whispered to herself, no, I can't think this way. I love my sister. I can't. But guilt alone wasn't enough to stop the pull inside her. For the first time, she realized that her feelings were no longer innocent. Admiration had become desire. Envy had become a dangerous spark. And in that moment, the first mistake was born. A fleeting glance, a lingering thought, a small step toward betrayal. That she didn't yet understand could destroy everything she loved. The evening ended peacefully on the surface. Maya and Damer laughed in the kitchen, unaware that a storm was quietly forming in the guest room. Over the next few days, Alina's longing grew stronger. Quiet, secret, and almost unbearable. She began finding excuses to linger around Damer. A question about a recipe, a small favor with groceries, or even just helping with a minor household task. Every interaction felt like a spark. Harmless on the surface, but electrifying beneath. One evening, she broke down while folding laundry in the guest room. Tears streamed down her face and her hands shook. Her heart felt too heavy to carry alone. Damer, hearing the soft sobs, knocked lightly and entered. Alina? Are you okay? His voice was calm, gentle, like a lifeline thrown across a stormy sea. Alina looked up at him, her eyes red and pleading. I don't know what to do anymore, she whispered. My husband left me. My life is ruined. I have no one. Damer's face softened with empathy. He moved closer and said, I'm sorry you're going through this. It must be so hard. Every word he spoke, every gesture he made, felt like warmth flooding into the coldest parts of her heart. And yet, that same warmth began twisting inside her, turning admiration into longing, compassion into desire. She hung on his every word, leaning slightly closer than necessary, her thoughts betraying her, imagining a life where he belonged to her, not Maya. Damer noticed her distress and reached out to comfort her. A pat on the shoulder, a hand on her back, a careful, kind presence. He meant it as support. But Alina's mind interpreted it differently. In her desperation, she began constructing a dangerous fantasy. What if he cared for me? What if I could have him instead of Maya? The emotional trap was set. A woman, broken by heartbreak. Drawn to the one who treated her like she mattered. Unaware that the feelings she nurtured could destroy everything in their path. That night, Alina lay awake, staring at the ceiling, whispering to herself, I don't want to hurt my sister, but I can't stop thinking about him. And somewhere. It happened one evening when Maya returned home earlier than usual from work. The house was quiet, too quiet. She noticed Alina in the living room, sitting a little too close to Damer. Her hands rested on the edge of the table, her eyes never leaving his face. And when Damer spoke, Alina leaned in, hanging on every word, a soft, almost intimate smile on her lips. Maya froze. Something in her chest tightened. She had seen closeness before, Alina grieving, Damer comforting. But this was different. This was too much. She stepped closer, clearing her throat. Alina, are you okay? The moment Maya spoke, Alina jumped, almost startled, her face flushing. Damer immediately straightened, pulling back slightly. But Maya had already seen enough. The glances, the lingering touch, the way Alina's eyes followed him. All of it screamed something forbidden. Maya's mind raced. How could she? My sister? My husband? Anger and disbelief collided with shock and sorrow. Her heart hurt, not just because of the act she witnessed, but because it was her own sister crossing the line. She stepped forward, her voice trembling but firm. Alina, I trusted you. You know how much I care about both of you. Why are you acting like this? Alina stammered, unable to find words. Her guilt was immediate, but so was the forbidden desire she couldn't suppress. I didn't mean, it's just, she whispered, her voice cracking. She wanted to apologize, but inside, part of her whispered the dangerous truth. I want him. I want what Maya has. Damer looked between them, tension rising in the room. Alina, whatever this is, stop it, he said firmly, his tone gentle but serious. You're my sister-in-law, and I will not betray Maya. Maya felt a mix of relief and heartbreak. Relief that Damer had boundaries. Heartbreak that her own sister had even thought about crossing them. The room was silent, heavy, and filled with tension. Maya's trust in Alina, something she had always taken for granted. After that evening, the atmosphere in the house became strained. Alina retreated to the guest room, pretending to rest. But her mind was a storm she couldn't escape. She replayed every moment with Damer, the way he smiled at her, the way he had listened when she cried, the subtle gestures of kindness that made her feel seen for the first time in months. A thought crept into her mind, soft and dangerous. What if he were mine? What if I had him instead of Maya? She immediately recoiled from it, ashamed, whispering, No, I could never. I love my sister too much. This is wrong. But the forbidden thought had already taken root. It whispered again when she was alone, turning into a question she couldn't answer. Why does Maya get love, peace, happiness, and I get nothing? The thought became a fantasy. In her imagination, she saw Damer laughing at her jokes, listening to her dreams, holding her hand at night. All the love and stability she had been denied. She hated herself for thinking it, yet couldn't stop. Each time she saw him, the fantasy grew, feeding on her loneliness and grief. The more she thought about it, the more real it felt. The line between reality and imagination blurred. She began to believe, deep down, that maybe she deserved it too. That night, she stared at the ceiling, her heart pounding, whispering to herself, I can't let myself think this, but what if I could? The seed of desire had been planted. A forbidden thought, one she had tried to bury, was now quietly growing inside her heart, waiting for the perfect moment to blossom into action. Little did she know, This thought would soon lead her down a path from which there would be no return, threatening not only her sister's happiness, but the love that had healed her heart. The days turned into weeks, and Alina's forbidden thoughts began shaping her actions. It started small, lingering glances, subtle touches on the table, excuses to be near Damer. Every encounter felt like a dangerous game, but her loneliness and longing clouded her judgment. One evening, while Maya was out visiting a relative, Alina found herself sitting next to Damer in the living room. They talked, at first casually, about household tasks and neighborhood news. But slowly, Alina steered the conversation toward her feelings, her heartbreak, her loneliness, her sense of loss. Damer listened, as always, with patience. He offered comfort, a supportive hand on her shoulder, and kind words that made her heart ache with emotions she knew were wrong. Alina's mind twisted his empathy into something dangerous. If he can care for me like this, maybe he could love me. Maybe he should. She leaned slightly closer, her voice trembling, her eyes holding his a moment too long. Damer paused, pulling back gently. Alina, this isn't right. I'm your brother-in-law. Maya trusts me, and I won't betray her. Her heart raced, but the temptation was too strong. A tiny spark had been lit, and she couldn't put it out. She whispered, almost to herself, I can't stop thinking. I want this. I want him. Damer's words were firm, but Alina's feelings had already crossed the line in her own mind. It wasn't physical yet, not entirely, but in that moment, she had emotionally crossed the line. Her desire, envy, and longing had manifested into thoughts and actions that betrayed her sister. She left the room that night, heart pounding, and felt both guilt and exhilaration. A dangerous combination that fueled her obsession further. From that day forward, there was no turning back. Alina had stepped onto a path of betrayal, where every small interaction with Damer became a temptation, and the bond between the sisters grew fragile, almost invisible. The storm had begun, and soon, Maya had been noticing subtle changes for weeks. Alina's lingering glances, the way she stayed near Damer longer than necessary, the soft sighs, the nervous touches, the almost imperceptible tension in her presence. At first, Maya told herself it was just grief. Her sister had been abandoned, left alone. Maybe she was just seeking comfort. But that evening, everything became undeniable. Maya returned home unexpectedly from work, planning a quiet evening with Damer. As she walked into the living room, she froze. Alina was sitting on the couch, too close to Damer. Her hand brushed his arm as she laughed softly at a joke he had made. Her eyes were fixed on him, and for a moment, it seemed like she wasn't even aware of Maya's presence. Maya's heart dropped. Shock, disbelief, and anger surged at once. Her own sister. Her sister was crossing a line. She cleared her throat sharply. Alina, what are you doing? Alina jumped, her face flushing crimson. I didn't mean, it's nothing, she stammered. Damer immediately stepped back, placing a respectful distance between them. Alina, you need to stop. This isn't right. I'm your sister-in-law's husband. You know this. Maya's eyes filled with tears of hurt and betrayal. She felt her trust shatter in that moment, her sense of safety in her own home eroding. She spoke, her voice trembling but strong. I welcomed you here, Alina. I let you in. I gave you a home when you had nowhere else to go. And this is how you repay me. Alina avoided her gaze, ashamed yet secretly unwilling to let go of her feelings. Her heart raced with a dangerous mix of guilt, desire, and envy. Maya realized the truth. Her sister's longing for Damer wasn't just admiration. It had become obsession. The room felt heavy, suffocating. The laughter and warmth that once filled the house were gone. Now, a silent storm brewed, one that could destroy everything they had built together. Maya knew she had a choice: confront it immediately or let it fester. Her hand tightened into a fist, her eyes never leaving Alina. One thing was clear. The bond between the sisters had been broken, and nothing would ever be the same again. The truth didn't stay hidden for long. Relatives noticed the tension in the house. Whispers spread. What's going on between Alina and Damer? Some blamed Alina. Some were confused. The once warm home became a battlefield of accusations and suspicion. Maya confronted her sister in front of the family. Alina, how could you betray me like this? Alina hung her head, unable to respond, her heart torn between guilt and desire. Damer stood firmly beside Maya, his calm demeanor barely containing his frustration. I will not let anyone disrespect our marriage, he said, voice steady. The house erupted in chaos, shouting, tears, and harsh words. Family bonds trembled under the weight of betrayal. Everyone realized that one secret longing had ignited a storm capable of destroying the family's foundation. By the end of the night, the house was silent, but nothing inside it would ever feel the same again. The next morning, the house felt heavier than ever. Silence hung in the air, thick and suffocating, as if every corner remembered the chaos from the night before. Alina packed her suitcase quietly, avoiding eye contact with Maya and Damer. Each item she folded was a small farewell, a painful reminder of the home she had once felt safe in, but had now corrupted with her desires. Maya tried to speak, her voice trembling. Alina, stay. Let's fix this. I can forgive you if you just... But Alina shook her head. No, Maya. I can't stay. I've ruined everything. I don't belong here anymore. Damer stood by the door, silent, observing. His eyes were kind but firm. I hope you find yourself, Alina. But understand, some lines can never be crossed again, he said gently. Alina's heart ached as she opened the door. Every step out of the house felt heavier than the last, each one a punishment for her choices and thoughts. She glanced back one final time at the sister who had always been her anchor, and at the man who had unwittingly become the object of her obsession. Tears blurred her vision as she whispered, I'm sorry for everything. Then she walked away, disappearing down the street, leaving behind a home that would never forget her betrayal, and two people whose lives she had irrevocably touched. By leaving, Alina thought she was escaping guilt, but in truth, she was stepping into a new life filled with consequences she had not yet imagined. After Alina left, the house was quiet, painfully quiet. Maya and Damer sat together in the living room, holding hands, their hearts heavy but determined to rebuild what had been shaken. They spoke openly for the first time about fears, doubts, and lingering pain. Slowly, trust returned. Not instantly, but step by step, word by word. Even though the shadow of Alina's betrayal lingered, they realized love could survive, but only if nurtured, protected, and never taken for granted. By the end of the day, they shared a small smile, a silent promise to each other. Nothing would come between them again. Months passed, and Alina rebuilt her life slowly. She met someone new, a kind, humble man who saw her for who she truly was. Not her past mistakes, not her grief, not her envy. Their connection was simple, quiet, and steady. Alina finally understood what it meant to be truly loved without complications, without secrets or forbidden desires. The wedding was small, intimate. No grand halls, no whispers of judgment. Just two people promising to care for each other, learning from the past, and choosing a better future. For the first time, Alina felt peace in her heart, realizing that life could still offer happiness, but only when it was earned, not taken. The house where Maya and Damer lived had returned to its calm, warm rhythm. No more tension, no more whispers, no more shadow of betrayal. Maya looked at Damer one evening as they sat on the porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon. She smiled softly, grateful for his patience, his love, and his unwavering loyalty. Do you think we'll ever fully get past it? She asked quietly. Damer took her hand, squeezing it gently. We've survived worse than this, he said. Trust isn't rebuilt in a day, but love survives when it's real. Meanwhile, Alina's life had taken a new, honest turn. Her second marriage was peaceful, her husband respectful and loving. No comparisons, no envy, just a life built on trust, care, and second chances. One day, Alina visited Maya, not to intrude, but to apologize once more and acknowledge the bond they still shared. Maya embraced her, tears streaming, but this time with forgiveness in her heart. The sisters learned a painful truth. Love could be tested, trust could be broken, but forgiveness and understanding could heal even the deepest wounds. As they parted that evening, Maya whispered, "Learn from the past, Alina, but don't let it define your future." And with that, each of them walked forward. Their lives forever changed, but stronger, wiser, and ready for the love they were truly meant to have. The end.